All right, welcome into episode 4 of the second half draft show. I'm your host, Juice, joined by Headley to my left, your right, and Drew below. Guys, again, another riveting week in college football as we continue to study and analyze prospects for the 2023 NFL Draft. Be sure to check out the channel, the YouTube channel at Couch Potato General Manager. If you're watching this on YouTube, drop us a like, subscribe to the channel. You can also find our work at www.couchpotatogm.com. So, gentlemen, your just your impressions. Not necessarily focus on any particular prospect, but just your impressions in terms of, the play that you've seen at the collegiate level this year, this far. And I'll start with you, Headley. We don't have to go into any great detail, but what jumps out at you?
Man, it's a lot of craziness going on in college football. A lot of high-scoring games, overtime. It's just wild, man. It goes all day, morning from 12 noon to Pac-12 after dark, and you just never know what you're gonna see, man. And defenses, they play well, but they still somehow allow 40, 50 points. So it's crazy, man.
What about you, Drew? Your thoughts?
Yeah, exciting, man. If every year, talk to my brother, he would be like, man, I would rather my team lose in college football and my Bucks win every week. I'll take that all day long because I love the NFL more than college. The scale's starting to tilt. Scale's starting to tilt. You know what I mean? Because it is exciting. The different fan bases. College football is starting to get to me, man. I'll let you know when I make the change. But yeah, like Headley said, these defenses out here, man. We going man across the board with like a minute to go, and we up by 5.
Right.
Yeah, and that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do what we do, and we're gonna lose. You know what I'm saying? And that's what happened in one of the games that we're gonna talk about. But yeah, man.
Or kickers. Oh, kickers
man.
happen.
Don't even talk about the kickers.
Bro. I'm not. No. If he ain't the best in the country, one of the top 5 in the country, you're not kicking the ball. We going for it.
Right.
Point blank, simple.
Yeah, your odds typically are better, man. The pressure typically is too much for these young men from a kicking standpoint, from a kicking game standpoint. I kind of share your sentiment to a certain degree, Drew. I think the only thing that's keeping the college football at bay as compared to the NFL is red zone. If there was a red zone, like a true,
it's coming, bro.
I mean, I know they have certain things like it, but not necessarily honed in and as laid out like a salad, quite like red zone.
So many teams, man. Exactly, so many teams in college.
Yeah. That's true. So it's very difficult to be able to pinpoint, which games, whatever the case may be. But I think it's worth a try. Because that has certainly changed viewership of the NFL, how we consume the NFL on Sundays. Let's jump into our 2023 prospects in review. So from last week, week 4 of the college football season, let's start with the matchup between the Maryland Terrapins and Michigan, the Wolverines. And among the players that we want to discuss in that particular matchup includes a tackle that you're particularly high on, Headley, and Jalen Duncan from Maryland, offensive tackle, as well as the younger Tagovailoa. Of course, there's been a lot of talk about Tua considering what happened Thursday night, and last week as far as head injury. So his younger brother, Blake Corum, the really explosive running back from Michigan as well, and Mazi Smith. So, Drew, I'm going to start with you. You can tackle any of those prospects. What have your impressions been thus far on those guys?
Jalen Duncan is as advertised, man. He is who I thought he was. Good feet, nice hands, they match. I know me and Headley disagree on this point in terms of him being an aggressive player, in terms of mauling and being able to pancake folks. He has it in him, but just not enough for me, and at the consistency that you want him. And Tagovailoa, it's one of those, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. I'm just waiting for the bad play, and I text y'all boys once he threw the pick. I was just waiting for it because I thought actually his come out party was gonna be last year. I kind of put him on the back burner, kind of buried him, put dirt on him. Came out the last couple games, he actually played well, and then went into Michigan or played Michigan and didn't turn out like he would wanted it to, but that game was close, till the end. So yeah.
Yeah, I could talk about Tua's little brother. Don't want to butcher the name. Let's call him Tua's little brother.
Okay.
it seems like every time there's a big game with him, interceptions start happening. You know, I know last year he had that 5 interception game. I think he had a couple in this game also. So I don't know if he's ready for the bright lights as of yet. But you know, we'll see. With Jalen Duncan, I think his best attributes are his feet, his quickness, just his movement ability. You know, he could get stronger base anchor. You know, like Drew says, could add some more nastiness also. You know, that the hand placement's a little wide. I seen him get beat a couple times around the edge against Michigan. But you know, that quickness, that feet, that ability to move to the second level, he's one of the best in the class at that. So I think that's his best trait. Blake Corum, 5 TDs last week, 243 yards this week. He got this word, the word, Juice, you know the word, vision.
Got the vision.
Got the vision. The wiggle, the vision. He's patient. Once he puts his foot in the ground, you know, he's out of there. And also, you know, jump cut. He could do it all. They don't really use him in the passing game as much. I want to see more of that, but you know, it's Michigan. They just want to run the ball with Corum. And then Mozzie Smith, run stuffer, strong lower half. I seen him one play. He had a guy hanging off one shoulder, and he took his other shoulder and made the tackle, man. So he's one of those, you know, those 2-down players. You know, got some underrated pass rusher, but at the next level, he might be relegated to 2 downs, and they're kind of getting out of style. But hey, you got to stop people on 1st and 2nd down and create 3rd and longs.
Don't sleep on the 2-down guys. You know what I mean? Like you said, Headley, you know, he has some underrated pass rush upside. You know, there's guys like DJ Reader whom we, you know, pegged late day 3 pick, pegged as a 2-down guy, and he's a difference maker. He's a difference maker. You know what I'm saying? Like those guys can develop. There's an opportunity for them to develop. A lot of times what we see is a player asked to do something that they're not necessarily suited to do, or they're typecast or pigeonholed in a particular role. For instance, a lot of times, and you know, this is one of my biggest pet peeves, we got 3 techniques out here masquerading as 5 techniques and 2 gapping and so on and so forth. So it's really a projection, and we talk about it all the time on the channel, and of course on the Second Half Draft Show, we talk about the traits. Does he have the traits to do certain things? He may not necessarily be asked to do those things. And one thing that we've learned over the years is that we don't assume that a guy can't do it. If he's not being asked to do it, you know, it's nice to see it. We appreciate seeing it and being able to evaluate it, but we can't assume that they can't do it. So certainly quite a few prospects coming out of that Maryland Michigan matchup, and that'll continue throughout the season. Let's move on to a very exciting contest between Clemson and Wake Forest.
Points
in the ACC. And Drew, I want to start with you. Of course, we have the quarterback Sam Hartman and DJ Ungo Ulule. Excuse me,
nice.
If I butchered his name.
I just call him DJU. I say DJU.
I know. I tried there. Hopefully, I kind of got it. Trenton Simpson, very talented second-level defender for Clemson. A.T. Perry and Tyler Davis, a couple guys that we haven't necessarily discussed on the Second Half Draft Show. Wanting to get into them a little bit. Drew, your thoughts on those players?
Yeah, Sam Hartman is, I mean, that guy, if you didn't know about him, you know about him now. If you give him the time, he's going to punish you. He's going to find the open guy, and he's also a guy who's going to throw it up for his guy to go and get it. We saw that with A.T. Perry over and over. I don't know what Clemson was doing, leaving him out there one-on-one, because that dude was abusing whoever it was. It was usually number 20. I don't know who that is, but it's a young freshman or sophomore out there. He was abusing that guy. And DJU, you know, for me, it's always just watching him. It's just something was off, man. But Saturday, that was a different guy, bro.
Best game to date.
Completely different guy. If that's the guy you getting, then the buzz is right for him. But I need to see more of that. You know what I mean? As long as he had the time, if you kind of pressured him a little bit, especially if you come up the middle, he looked like a different guy. But if you gave him time and he was able to sit back there, and by the way, both of these guys had a lot of time. I think Hartman had a little less time at times because of another guy that I think Headley's going to bring up, because that guy was doing his thing. But if you gave DJU plenty of time, man, he punished you. You know, obviously he lost weight this year, able to run a little bit quicker, a little bit faster. So he has that element to his game. And he was out there, you know, I was like, man, can he get it to these guys? You know, put the ball where he wants to put it. He was out there throwing dots, as the young folks call it. So yeah, he was balling. And Trenton Simpson. I'll pull this up real quick. Let me just pull my notes back. Man. And I wish we had a bleep button, but I'm gonna bleep it myself. Okay, because there's two versions of this type of player.
I'm working on it. I'm working on the drops. Okay. I'm working on the drops.
This guy, bro. This guy, bro. There's usually two of those guys. The bad of that guy, we call that guy a duck. If anybody didn't know. Or fish.
Or fish, yeah.
Or fish. Yeah, fish. That's not a good thing. You don't want a fish. You don't want a duck out there. Or just, guys that are incredible, that make plays. And Simpson remind me of a guy on the Bucks, bro. Levante David. Just out here just being able to make plays. And I think he's actually a better coverage guy than David was coming out. So you have that advantage. I think David's a little bit better in terms of coming downhill and making plays. Not that Simpson can't, because he can. I just think, when I'm comparing the two, that's just kind of how I see him. But this is a guy people are going to love, and might be some people's linebacker one, and I can't blame him for it because, again, at the linebacker position, at the safety position, the two things that are most important to me in those positions is instincts. And he got those in spades, whether it be coming downhill or whether it be playing in space or covering a guy down the field like receivers, because he's fast as hell too. So, yeah, man, he's a fun watch.
Yeah, definitely. He's definitely my linebacker one right now. Like I said in the previous broadcast, a lot of guys are kind of disappointing. We'll talk about Sewell later. I think he had his best game this past Saturday, but Trenton Simpson, the athleticism, the versatility, the coverage ability, they put him at edge sometimes and let him rush the quarterback. He'll drop back in coverage. He's just a missile. He's a missile to the ball carrier. You just got to free him up and let him run all over the football field. I expect him to be a first-round talent in this upcoming draft. Back to the quarterback, Sam Hartman. The game was crazy, man. Like, over and over, I'm watching it. Clemson is leaving their young corners one-on-one with A.T. Perry, Banks on the other side, I think number 11, and it's just one-on-one. They run this slow mesh offense. Hartman pulls it back. He maneuvers the pocket really well, and he gives his receiver a chance to catch the ball. And I'm looking at the game like, why don't we play a two deep shell? Let them run the ball. You know what I'm saying? Hartman is beating you over and over, and Clemson never came out of that defense. I think towards like the fourth quarter, they started coming out of that defense, but Hartman was carving them up. DJU, like you said, best game of his career, man. He has an NFL arm. The arm talent is there for him. He could use his legs. It's just about decision making, just being faster, progression through routes from his receivers. I think he needs to work on that a little bit, but the arm is there. He has NFL talent. Who else we got? A.T. Perry. This guy's 6'5", but he plays like a smaller receiver. He's not jumping up, high pointing Mike Williams. He's not doing that. He's running routes. He's tracking the football over his head. He's getting open on comebacks. So he's a big guy playing like a small guy. And
in a good way.
In a good way. Yeah, in a good way.
That's
some receivers that's that big can't separate, and the corners are all over them, but he's separating. And then we have Tyler Davis. I didn't know much about Tyler coming in. I'm looking at Brisset, I'm looking at Murphy, the first round talents, and number 13 just kept popping up over and over. He took over the game like in the fourth quarter. He's a 3-tech. He shoots the gap fast. He plays physical. Through contact, he gets through contact well. I think he had a couple sacks in that game, and he really catapulted Clemson in the fourth quarter. And I think that's it, right?
Yeah,
those guys, man. It was an exciting game, a very exciting game.
Definitely.
Real quick, Juice. Can I answer Jarrett Patterson's question?
I was gonna throw it.
Okay, my bad. I just seen that.
You always stepping on my toes.
Man.
Yeah.
They big, bro. You know what I'm saying? They big.
Let me cook, man. Let me cook.
Let Juice cook.
Drew, go ahead and answer the question. So we did get a question. One of our viewers, Jared Patterson, appreciate the question. Who is quarterback 3 in the NFL draft? I'm going to tell you right now, before Drew gets to his point,
I already know.
If you haven't watched any of the previous second half draft shows, if you haven't seen any of our early mock drafts on the YouTube channel, then it may come as a surprise to you. If you have been tuning in, it shouldn't come as a surprise to you. Go ahead, Drew.
Yeah. So let me just give my first two. Bryce Young is number 1 for me. Jaren Hall for BYU is number 2.
That's
and
a
so
surprise.
now it's
That's
like,
the curveball.
Well, that is a curveball because I'm assuming
CJ Stroud
was thinking, CJ Stroud. He could be number 3 for me. He could be, but I like me as a Devin Leary, quarterback from NC State. I like a Will Levis, and I really, really like Will Rogers from Mississippi State. So those are kind of my guys there. But I'd probably go Devin Leary, then CJ Stroud. And you asked me why. A couple things. Stroud, I need you to be a little bit more aggressive in terms of using your legs. Number 1 and number 2, you do play in that wide open offense. So there's just a little bit more of a question for me. But I mean, if guys are open, they're open. You throw it to them. I can't really ding you for it, but I'm gonna ding you for it a little bit. The other guys, not so much, that have to deal with or have that advantage, if you will.
Yeah, for me, Jared, I got Bryce Young at 1, and some people got CJ Stroud at number 1. But I have Stroud at 2, so I got Young, Stroud, and I'm still trying to figure out QB3. I'm looking at Hendon Hooker, and I'm looking at Cam Ward. I kind of like what they bring athleticism wise.
Throwing wrenches in there.
Yeah, I'm looking at those 2 guys. I know Will Levis got the arm. I was kind of high on Tanner McKee coming in, but he looks like he's turning the ball over a lot. He's running that new mesh point. We're gonna get to Tanner McKee later, but yeah, I'm looking at Hooker and Cam Ward.
Yeah, the development of Hendon Hooker has been really impressive. I think the move to Tennessee has done him a body of good. I certainly hope to see him in Mobile in February, really get an opportunity to see him up close. But the development has been really impressive. There's a lot of older quarterbacks in this particular class. You know what I mean? Guys that are, 5th-year seniors, 6th-year seniors. That may have hurt Kenny Pickett a little bit. But certainly, at the quarterback position, you got guys playing well into their 40s these days. You know what I'm saying? The way they protect quarterbacks typically, that's not a huge concern of mine. That's not a huge concern of mine. Mine is, obviously, can you function within structure? Can you extend plays when things aren't necessarily working out? Can you make all the throws? And do you have the mind for the game? And I think there's quite a few guys here that have an opportunity to establish themselves as legitimate NFL starters. You know what I mean? Especially in this day and age when you're looking for guys who can obviously, get you out of a bad play from time to time with their athleticism. Not necessarily always running with the football, but certainly extending plays. So I'm going to reserve my top 3. You know what I mean? I haven't necessarily spent as much time on the quarterbacks as I would like, but I've been really, really impressed by Jaren Hall. I must say, I've been very impressed by ball placement in particular. We're going to get to him a little bit later, speak about him a little bit more in this particular broadcast. But for now, let's move on to the big SEC matchup last weekend between Drew's Gators and the Tennessee Volunteers and the aforementioned Hendon Hooker. And of course, we have a lot of prospects to get to. Headley, I just want you to pick 3. Okay. And then Drew, I'm going to throw it to you. You pick 3. It could be the same 3. It could be.
Nah, bro, don't take none of mine.
Well, whatever the case may be, but I'm gonna give Headley the opening kick. He's gonna get first possession.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I'm gonna start with Tennessee because I know you're gonna be on the Gators a lot. So I'm gonna go Hendon Hooker from Tennessee. Spoke about him briefly. I just like how he stands tall, delivers the football. He uses his legs. They're really decisive. He's not really, if it's not there, he's taking off. He's not really trying to take a sack. He doesn't turn the ball over, which is great. Also, a little bit like Deshaun Watson to me. I know that's a big name. That's a superstar in this league, but how he just stands tall, hits his receivers, takes off when he needs to, gets the first down, doesn't really turn the football over. Yeah, I know he's gonna be 25 years old, kind of like Jaren Hall, older prospects like you mentioned, Juice. But yeah, he really showed me something against the Gators this past Saturday. Also, you said 3 guys, right?
Let's go back and forth.
All right, go, Drew. Your turn.
Real quick, I think with the quarterback position, that's one of those positions where I don't think age really matters.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Less.
Yeah, it's a lot. I think it's a lot less than most positions. Because
yeah, I'd agree with that.
But it is a lot, man. Who I want to go with? I'll go with AR, man. I'll go with AR. I'll go with the whole low hanging fruit. This is best game to note. Everybody was like, "Damn, this man got more picks than he got touchdowns. He didn't have any. He had throwing touchdowns. Excuse me. He didn't have any." And he goes out there and he gets himself bunches, running, throwing. He did it all last game. He hung in the pocket. He was throwing to his left and his right.
Okay.
More to his right side, but he did throw to his left because that was a concern. I'm gonna still do the chart. I'm gonna chart him up. I'm gonna figure it out. Look at the percentages, see what that looks like. But that's the AR that we're looking for. Both using his legs and getting it to his receivers. Again, for me, I need you not to leave this year, not because I'm a Gator, but because I think you got a little bit more growing to do. But if he continues on this path, he may have an opportunity to skyrocket because we know what the talent level is for him. So yeah, man. But I think Hendon Hooker had the better game for me.
I would agree with that. And if you're curious as to who Drew's referencing by AR, that's going to be Anthony Richardson.
Oh, my bad. I thought everybody knew, bro. I thought
AR make all those assumptions, man. Plus he doesn't want to be,
Oh, and now he don't want to be AR-15.
AR-15. Fair enough. Fair enough. Back to you, Headley.
I'll go with Osiris Torrance, the big right guard at Florida. To me, I think he might be the best prospect Florida has in this upcoming draft. He's just big, physical, can't be moved off his spot. The base and anchor is legit. I think he's an NFL-ready plug-and-play starter. The only thing I question with him is, quicker guys getting the best of him. He could move now. I've seen him pulling and doing all of that, but guys that are quick with great hand movements, hand usage, defensive tackles, I think they could probably beat him. But other than that, man, he checks all the boxes. So I really like what I see from Torrance.
Yeah, I got number 51, Ventrell Miller. And this is a guy, when you talk about players on a team where if they're not there, like not because the announcer says, hey, he's not playing, it affects the team. And I think Ventrell Miller is a guy, if he's not there, they look bad. Because you go back and you look at that USF game, you knew he wasn't there, bro. It was terrible. They were marshmallowy up the middle. On the sides, didn't matter. Ventrell Miller, I think, is a sideline to sideline linebacker. I like him in the middle, though, coming downhill. He's a guy who can play in space as well. But them intangibles to know where he's supposed to be, to line people up, to be where he's supposed to be, to make the play, or have other people make plays because people are where they're supposed to be because he's the guy lining people up and making sure people are supposed to be where they're supposed to be. I mean,
how many times did you say people are where they're supposed to be,
bro? Because I know my Gators, and I know there's a couple of people that out there do what they want to do, and
yeah.
He can't play every position. You know what I'm saying? I can't be out there playing safety, out there playing corner, blowing coverages. But in terms of the middle of the defense, the front seven, he get people where they're supposed to be, line them up.
Get it lined up. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm gonna go to the Gators again, because they got more prospects in Tennessee. But I'm gonna go with Brenton Cox Jr. I know we've been talking about him. Juice wanted us to mention him more last week, so I'm gonna mention him here again. It's just disruptive, full effort. Just buckle your chin strap, man. He's coming play after play, the speed to power. He got a great mix of speed and power. He keeps offensive linemen guessing because is he gonna blow past me? Is he gonna bull rush me? They can't figure it out with him, and I just love the effort he plays with. And I even seen him line them up on the A to B gaps, stand them up, rush up the middle, just to be disruptive like you are. And I don't know if he had any sacks this game, Drew, but he was close a lot of times. He was always in the backfield, so he blew a lot of plays up.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about two prospects. Ricky Parcell, number one wide receiver for the Gators. We're going back to the Gators, and I'm gonna talk about Justin Shorter. They are two different types of receivers. Parcell is the more dynamic, explosive, speedy kind of guy, and Shorter is the possession. Just needs a little bit of space. Just give him a little bit of space. He'll be able to make that catch. So those are two guys, and I know Shorter is actually getting a little bit more buzz. I don't know why, but I think with AR turning into the quarterback we think he can be, if he's heading in the right direction, I think you're going to hear more about Ricky Parcell from, I think it was Arizona State is where he transferred in from.
All right. Like I said before, a lot of NFL talent in this particular contest. It's headlined, of course, by the quarterbacks, but on either side of the ball, plenty of talent. Thank you, guys. Let's move on to Texas A&M at Arkansas. This was supposed to be the big matchup, another big matchup in the SEC, in Jerry's world. And it didn't necessarily quite live up to the bill. I thought the first half certainly did, but it tapered off. And I was a little disappointed. I was a little disappointed in terms of KJ Jefferson's, or not necessarily KJ Jefferson, but Arkansas's performance throughout. Give me one prospect each from this particular game that you thought, was particularly impressive, or you were somewhat disappointed.
Dang, bro, you just.
So Hadley, you save
One?
A-Chain. Save A-Chain.
I'm not gonna say A-Chain. I'm gonna save him.
Okay. Save
I'm
A-Chain.
gonna go Ricky Stoneberg. Ricky Stoneberg, the center from Arkansas. I thought he stood out with his strength and his movement ability. I think his arms and his feet work well together. Plays with some nastiness. They really. KJ Jefferson, that when he tried to jump over there and lost the ball, and Damani took the ball from his teammate, that really changed the whole game.
That was it.
For Texas A&M to win, but I thought Arkansas controlled the line of scrimmage though. So Ricky Stoneberg, the center from Arkansas.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Chris Russell Jr., senior middle linebacker, number 24. He don't look like a linebacker to me. I thought he was a safety coming down in the box. But he was all over the place. He was the guy kind of spying KJ Jefferson when asked. He got himself a sack. He was actually the one who stripped the ball from KJ Jefferson on that. I don't know what the hell he was doing. That was crazy. And he made a couple of other plays out in space. So this is a guy that to of note to keep watching. Maybe he'll head over there to the Senior Bowl, but he moves kind of like a nickel. I think he probably should be a weak side linebacker, but in college, they do funky stuff with players. So
we talked about that at the top. Guys get miscasts. You know what I'm saying? And it skews the evaluation a little bit. But again, that's our responsibility, is to try to get through that, cut through that, and identify where those players will have the most success based on their traits, based on what we can extrapolate. A guy that I wanted to mention, since I limited you guys quite a bit here on this one, is Damani Richardson. You alluded to the play where he made that heads-up play, took the ball from a teammate, and basically turned that game around with a defensive score. After KJ Jefferson fumbled at the goal line, and there's a lot of starts in this belt, and of course, all the buzz was Antonio Johnson, who is a good player. No mistake about it. I think he's a day 2 prospect as far as I'm concerned. He's going to be on an NFL team. He gives you some versatility, but Richardson to me is a better safety. He's a better safety. I think Johnson is a nickel. He's a big nickel. You know what I'm saying? When he's playing, in the deep parts of the field, he doesn't necessarily he doesn't show up quite as often. I understand that when you're the last line of defense, it's typically a good thing when you don't show. But Richardson, all the starts, the leadership, the temperament that he plays with, I think he's an impressive player, and I like both those players quite a bit. And if Richardson tests well, I think he's gonna have a very long NFL career. He's not gonna be as ballyhooed per se as his teammate Antonio Johnson, but I think he's a guy who can stick around the league for a long time. We're talking 8-10 years. Considering that the average career is 3 to 4. You know what I mean? So I really like what I've seen from him. He flashed last year, but I think, to be honest with you, I think he's outplayed Antonio Johnson to this point. All right. Let's move on to a West Coast matchup, Pac-12 matchup between Oregon and Washington State. And give me 2 players apiece on this one. I know our audience may not necessarily be quite as familiar with some of those players on the West Coast, so let's share our analysis, our insight on the prospects from Oregon and Washington State.
So I'm gonna go with both quarterbacks, if you don't mind. Cameron Ward, I know that Headley said Hendon Hooker is Deshaun Watson-esque. I'm gonna say Cameron Ward is Michael Vick-esque. Yeah, he don't have the arm talent that Vick has, but Ward has a little bit more improvisation.
Yeah, there you go.
In his game. He's a fun watch, keeps his eyes down the field, and I think he's decisive as well as like Hendon Hooker when he decides to make the throw or decides, hey, listen, I'm just gonna take off because it ain't there. I think he has that ability, and I think he's a guy to continue to watch. Maybe he's a riser. We got like 10,000 quarterbacks, just potential to rise, but we're gonna add another one to the list. Just throw him in there. And then Bo Nix, I was talking greasy about him last week, and probably the week before and the week before that.
Don't do it.
Because we know what Bo Nix is, bro. He is what he is. He's an accident waiting to happen. You know what I'm saying? He's a turnover waiting to happen. He's a bad play waiting to happen, and you just kind of Like, what were you thinking? I was trying to make a play, coach. Well, last week he didn't do that. He actually played very well. He actually threw the ball down the field, because he is a dink and dunker. But he was, I mean, if you're going to play one-on-one coverage, Bo Mix is like, I'm going to throw it out there. That's not what he does, but he was finding either the one-on-one matchup or he was finding the guys that were running wide open, which, made it easy for him. And I think he leads the Oregon in rushing touchdowns as well, which is crazy. But, he's got that ability as well.
It's a trap, bro.
Damn, bro. It's a trap?
Yes.
Yeah, we're probably gonna bring it up next week,
Yes. As soon as you start to think, we might have something here with Bo Nix, he just too many peaks and valleys for my taste. But certainly played well. Played well. Go ahead, Headley. Did we lose Headley's feed?
Think so.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Alex Forsythe, the center from Oregon. I think he's technically sound. He's not the biggest, but he's athletic. He's athletic, man. He's tailor made for that zone scheme. Yeah, that you hear me, guys?
Yeah, we hear you.
I think it's a little bit of a delay.
Hello.
Yeah, there's a delay there.
Yeah, so Alex, Alex Forsythe, I think he's tailor-made for that zone scheme. We've seen guys get drafted a lot earlier because they fit the scheme of a certain NFL team. I think Alex Forsythe, the ability to move to the second level, the ability. You hear me? Mm-hmm. Okay. And the other guy I'm gonna mention, I'm gonna go with Noah Sewell. Sewell. He excels in pass coverage, and I know we've been talking bad about him the last couple acts. I think tackles for losses. He was all over the football field. He was he was linebacker one. It looks like he's trying to put something together here.
All right, fellas, let's move on. Let's move on. Looks like we broke up a little bit. I'm not sure if our viewers are experiencing the same thing. Let us know in the comments if you're getting a breakup from Headley. But he mentions Alex Forsythe and Noah Sewell, a couple prospects from this particular contest. Sewell, to Headley's point, Sewell had his best game to date this year, in particular. Let's move on to Wisconsin versus Ohio State. And Drew, you talked about where CJ Stroud kind of lies for you. Give me one player from this particular game each, in terms of who you thought stood out or perhaps didn't necessarily live up to the billing. And Headley, just want to make sure that your audio feed is working well. Let's start with you.
I'm gonna go with Paris Johnson, and I thought the big matchup was him and Herbig. Herbig had some speed, had some hand placement. Paris Johnson shut that down. Shut that down, man. He's looking like he offensive tackle 1 or 2. He made that move from guard to left tackle, and he made it effortlessly, man. So I really like what I see from Paris Johnson. I'm gonna mention another guy, Dawan Jones, the right tackle from Ohio State. He's the big physical mauler, and Herbig was on that side too. And I thought Dawan Jones won that matchup also. So both tackles from Ohio State really stood out for me.
Yeah, and real quick, I'm gonna piggyback off of those two. So Ohio State has played Notre Dame. That's Isaiah Folsky. He played on both ends, so both of those guys saw him. And then this week they obviously last week they played Nick. Make sure I say it, Herbig, and they're gonna see my man Wyndham here in a week. Not this week, but I think it's next week for Michigan State. So Jacoby Wyndham. So I think that those two guys are going to skyrocket up boards because of who they're facing on a weekly basis in terms of edges, for the college football season. And listen, Paris Johnson, I was really concerned about him, man. And he is
the transition, right?
Yeah, he is it, bro. Like his ability to move whether it be, pulling or getting out in space or mirror matching. He is that guy. I think he was a 4 or 5-star prospect, and he's living up to that billing right now. And he should have been playing left tackle since I don't know when, but he might be tackle 1, bro. Because I love offensive linemen that can move, bro. And that dude can move. Easy
mover out of Paris Johnson. Like you mentioned, the fact that he was playing inside and out of position effectively season ago. We didn't necessarily see the best version of him. He's home. He's home at left tackle. You know what I mean? And he's really demonstrating that he needs to be in consideration, to your point, of being the first tackle selected in the 2023 NFL draft. Interesting group at that particular position. Let's move on to our last review game, and we'll go back to the Pac-12, and we have Stanford and Washington. But before I get to you guys' analysis, I wanted to share with our viewers a short from our YouTube channel on Michael Penix Jr., the former quarterback from Indiana. So he transfers to Washington, and he's really making a case here to be part of that conversation. Maybe not necessarily first round, but perhaps day 2 among the quarterbacks. The scouts are taking notice. Make no mistake about it. So let's check this out real quick.
Start the half for Washington, including that wildcat snap to Newton. Penix drops back, throws, caught. McMillan.
And that pass looks like something relatively simple, but it's not. It's a shot throw, right? And you have to drop that in between the corner who's in a zone and the safety over top. So getting that throw up and over the corner and down before the safety gets there is no small feat. Now he's making this throw, right? Left to right. He's a lefty. He's going to well outside the hash on the right side, and he's able to get that, like I said, that throw up and down. Very impressive stuff from Michael Penix. And Drew, I actually want you to start there with him.
Yeah, man, this dude's ability to, like you said, put the ball where he needs to put it. And we can talk about his ability to control that offense. Like you said, he's a transfer coming in from Indiana. And his complete control of the offense, lining people up, knowing where he's going to go with the ball pre-snap at times. It's a joy to watch, man. And like you said, another guy to add to that quarterback list of these quarterbacks that are coming out. He's actually a bit of a surprise. And there's always 1 or 2 guys where you're like, he'll graduate, get his degree, and go about his business. But no, and Washington has struggled with having a quarterback. That's the thing that's been holding them back in the Pac-12. And this might be a team competing with USC for Pac-12 title. And I know I'm talking early. I'm just telling you that this team look a little different. They look a little different when they got quarterback play. Because they've always had the athletes, to whether it be defensively or offensively, they always had them, but the quarterbacks always held them back. And I think they may have found a guy who, can kind of bring them over that hump.
Definitely. Hadley, who from this game you think stood out to you?
I'm gonna go to the other quarterback, Tanner McKee from Stanford. His offense changed. So Stanford, he was under center, turned it back to the defense, find the receiver. Now they're running that. Well, I guess what Wake Forest run is that slow mesh RPO offense, and it's not looking good for him, man. He's turning over the ball, fumbling, throwing interceptions, getting sacked. What he excelled at last year, it's not what they're doing this year, and I think he's just adjusting to it. But right now, I just can't put him in the category of other quarterbacks that we've named so far, because he's not able to escape the pocket. He's not one of those quarterbacks. He's more of a pocket quarterback, but he's taking a lot of sacks and he's turning the ball over a lot this year. Washington got to him a lot, so yeah, Tanner McKee is a guy that I'm still watching for the rest of the season to see how he progresses.
It's always, we've talked about it at some of the other positions in terms of being typecast. Now, when you drop a quarterback in a system that doesn't necessarily, jive with his skill set, it could turn out poorly. You know what I mean? What Headley described is more of a traditional, prototypical offense. Now, of course, the way the league is going, because of the pervasive nature, I'm gonna put it that way, because I'm not a huge fan of the spread, but it is what it is. At the collegiate level, you see more and more teams at the NFL level adopting that. There's still prototypical principles associated with it, but a lot less guys understand the amount of snaps that are being fumbled when guys line up in the center it's
Crazy.
It's nonsense because it's just not practiced as much, right? So again, you're coming from more of a prototypical offense, and then trying to in one spring, assimilate to a very different offense, put it that way. And you're going to have some bumps and bruises along the way. I want to spend a little time on this game because there are quite a few prospects in it. And again, being that they're a pair of Pac-12 teams, our audience may not necessarily be quite as familiar with them, considering that they tend to play later. So Drew, tell me a little bit about Caillou Blue-Kelly, your thoughts on him. Heather, I'd like to hear about your thoughts on him as well. You got ZTF, Zion Tupula-Fatui, Jackson Kirkland, Cam Bright. Those four prospects, I'd like to hear some amalgamation of your thoughts on those guys.
All right, well, Blue-Kelly, at this point, I loved him going into this year. Watching the tape, he's long. He's got some speed, man, but I don't know. Like down the field, it's looking a little tough, man. Looking a little iffy. He got beat this past week, pass interference. He got a little nervous. Panicked and had to hold and grab and tackle. Obviously he got beat by Jordan Addison last week. So I'm a little concerned in terms of it's always downfield. It's never, that short to intermediate. He's usually very comfortable with it and he wins, especially when he gets his hands on you at the line of scrimmage. But he might be a zone cover 2, cover 3 type of corner. Man, I don't want to say that, man, because I was high on him going in, but I'm gonna keep a close eye on him because he was one of my top corners. But he may end up just being relegated to a zone type corner who can play a little man, but you don't want that every snap. And then Zion, I'm gonna call him. We're just gonna call him ZTF because I'm gonna kill his name. I think he got a sack and he did apply some pressure this week, but again, this is a guy who
missed a lot of time. So
missed a lot of time, and they don't give him enough run, man. I think I said it every week. They just don't give him enough run, man. I need to see more. I need to see more snaps. Just give the man snaps. This is a guy who had 7 sacks in 3 games before he got hurt 2 years ago. Like, what's the deal? You know what I mean? Because I don't know if there's guys better than him on the roster. Don't seem that way, but they don't give him the run either. But I think maybe they're
trying to keep him, help him. Exactly.
Yeah, maybe. So maybe they know something I don't know. So I gotta chill with that. But this is a guy I was expecting big things coming out this year because he actually played well coming off of that Achilles in spring ball last year. He played the last, I think, 2 or 3 games last year. He didn't have any sacks, but he was applying pressure and he was doing what he was doing before. Just you just didn't see it in terms of production.
Yeah, I was looking at Cam Bright, watching the film. He's all right, but what I really noticed is another edge rusher named Braylon Trice, number 8 for Washington. So this might be the reason why ZTF not seeing the field as much.
Yeah.
Because Braylon Trice, he has natural pass rushing ability, the dip, the bend, the closing ability. He just looks like a natural out there. He's a redshirt sophomore, so he is draft eligible. And if he comes out, I can see the traits is there. I can see him as a first round talent. A team will take a chance on him.
Yeah, that's a new name for me. So I'm certainly going to lock in on that one right there, Heather. Appreciate that. Let's move on. Let's move on to our honorable mentions. We won't spend too much time here, but I gotta give my guy, running back from Pittsburgh, Israel Abanikanda, some love, man. He continues to rip off huge chunks of yardage to find the end zone multiple times a week. Again, if you haven't checked him out, it's number 2 running back Israel Abanikanda from Pittsburgh. I don't think enough people are talking about him at the national level as far as the running backs are concerned. Of course, you have the Bijan Robinsons. We talked about Blake Corum. You have Jahmyr Gibbs down in Alabama. There's some good backs out there. Sean, Tucker from Syracuse, Deuce Vaughn, another member among our honorable mentions here. But Israel Abanikanda, I think, really needs some love. He's been putting on a show there for Pittsburgh, and he's really truly the engine of the offense. With Kenny Pickett no longer being there, the Slovis the experiment, it ain't working out too great. You understand what I'm saying? And of course, Pittsburgh always has talent, and the passing game just isn't up to snuff. So he's been carrying that particular offense. Heather, you mentioned a guy, and I want you to talk a little bit about where he ranks from a statistical standpoint. Charlie Jones, a receiver from Purdue.
Yeah, Charlie Jones came on my radar a couple weeks ago against Garrett Williams. I'm scouting Garrett Williams from Syracuse. Some consider Garrett Williams a first-round talent, and Charlie Jones just kept beating him over and over deep. You know, Charlie Jones is not the biggest, he's not the fastest, but just the release from his routes, his ability to stack defenders, get behind them, and catch deep balls, man. And he really did Garrett Williams. So he leads the nation in catches. He leads the nation in receiving touchdowns, and he's third in the nation in the receiving yards. So he's putting up a hell of a numbers. He had 2 TDs again last week, I think against Florida A&M. Fact check me on that, but he continues to show out. And another guy, Juice, I wanted to mention in my honorable mention was the guy you just said, Deuce Vaughn, the running back from Kansas State. Smaller stature back, but he runs really hard. He uses out the backfield as a dual threat. He gets lost in the trenches. He's one of those guys, he comes through the line of scrimmage, nobody knows where he is, and there he goes, running for 20, 30, 40 yards, man. Good contact balance. He could pass. He'll stand into the pass protect, but, you know, due to his size, he probably can't handle power as much. But
physics starts to take a play.
Yeah, but But, you know, every NFL team is looking for a back like this, you know, that to help him in the pass game on third downs. He's like a Danny Woodhead type of running back. He could run between the tackles and help on third downs.
I liken him to Warrick Dunn is what he reminds me of due to his size and the way he runs. And Charlie Jones, number 15. He also went against Joey Porter. He had some success. But when Porter got his hands on him, there wasn't much success. But he did have success against Joey Porter as well. So just want to put that out there.
Joey Porter, a first-round prospect.
Yeah, Penn State cornerback.
Penn State. So yeah, we've talked about him quite a bit on the second half draft show. Certainly impressive what we've seen from Charlie Jones thus far. Let's talk about your HBCU prospects of note, Drew.
Almost forgot about those guys, man.
Switch gears a little bit here, and
forget about those guys.
Yeah, I know.
I almost forgot about them, and we definitely want to show them some love here on the second half draft show. Cameron Richardson, defensive lineman from Grambling State.
Yeah, they went against, I think it was Alabama A&M. That man had a scoop and score, and he also had an interception. That set them boys up for a short field. You don't normally get that from a defensive lineman, but you know he's out there doing his thing. And then we have a repeat offender, a habitual. Line stepper, and Tyler Long, linebacker, Norfolk State. Not a big guy, but this man had 11 tackles and 1.5 sacks in this past week. So this is a guy that I think we have to start keying on. Showed up twice on our HBCU, and he's a tackling machine. And you know it's nice to say he's getting all these tackles, but he's also producing in terms of sacks. So you know he's getting in the backfield. He's where he's supposed to be.
TFLs.
Yeah, and TFL. So it's a name not to forget. And you know we know there's some guys at HBCU we that have made it in the NFL and is doing their damn thing.
Yeah, namely the artist formerly known as Darius Leonard. Yep. You know what I mean? And we got a chance to see him at the Senior Bowl in Mobile, and you could tell he was one of the best players on the field. It wasn't just like that he belonged. He was one of the best players on the field, and ultimately became the highest paid off the ball linebacker in the NFL. So if you have the skills, they will find you. You know, Norfolk State is not so remote that they won't find you. The NFL has tons of resources and scouts everywhere. So good on Tyler Long, repeat offender, as Drew said. To be highlighted in our HBCU prospects, draft eligible prospects for 2023. I want to introduce a new segment, and we won't probably see this in every episode, but I imagine it will grow and morph and evolve. And that's my guys, the guys that we stake our claim to in terms of our guys among the prospects, guys that we tend to be higher on than the consensus, right? And Drew, I want to start with you in terms of your guys. There's 3 of them, and I'm going to give you a little room to wax on them. A couple of guys you've mentioned already, but give you a little room to wax. But before I actually get there, I do want to play this clip for you because this, of course, is one of Drew's guys.
2.
Hall looking into the boundary. Great catch. Keanu Hill for another first down.
And that would be Jaren Hall. Drew, floor is yours.
Yeah, there's actually another short that has actually a better throw. But ball placement, man. If you put the ball only where your guy can get it, there's nothing that a cornerback, linebacker, defensive lineman, safety can do. As long as that guy can catch the football, it is what it is. Jaren Hall, I think he may end up being my number one. I can't dethrone Bryce Young just yet. I'm just waiting for him to have a bad game so I can have the ability to do that. We'll see if that ever happens. But Jaren Hall, I didn't know what to expect when watching him. I was actually watching Blake Freeland, the left tackle for BYU, and this just where he kept putting the ball, man. He put it where his guy could get it, or he'll put it in a safe space to protect his guy. And I think that's special to me, man. So there's not a throw that he can't make. I know Juice had asked me before about, because that's where Zach Wilson came from. Is he a better player than Zach Wilson? Yeah, because he protects the football. He doesn't he doesn't play out of character. He's not trying to, fit it into a window that, he's not doing his best Jay Cutler that you might see from a Zach Wilson. And I got to give him props, bro. He's the first black quarterback at BYU. So, I got to give him his love there. So I give him a little hat tip for that. Hanging in there. And I think this is a guy that people need to continue to watch, and a guy who, I think he's, might end up being quarterback one for me. Next up, I got Mohamed Ibrahim, running back, Minnesota. And I think this is the forgotten running back, because last year he was first game of the season. It was last year, right? Lit up Ohio State. I think the man ran for 200, if I'm not mistaken. Fact check me if it was damn near close to 200, and he probably would have ran for 300 if he didn't get hurt. I think he tore his Achilles, correct? Or ACL, whatever it was. One of them knees, Achilles. Y'all know how it is. If that didn't happen, they probably win that game, because he carried that Minnesota team, and he's got everything that you want from the position. I think the only thing that you're missing from him is maybe that burst, that separation, that A-chain, Devin A-chain type of thing. That separation in terms of when he gets to the open field, he can run past everybody, and there's no angle that can catch him. But he can catch out the backfield. He's got the vision, got the patience. I think his best trait may be his patience and his ability to that vision and patience. Combine those together, probably his best abilities as a running back. And then Rasheed Rice. Helly, I know we was talking off air. What was the stat that you had? The most yards?
Yeah, he leads the nation in receiving yards.
Yeah. What was it? Ian Cummings on Twitter.
Yeah.
He had, and I wish we had the tweet, could throw it up there for you guys, but go check him out on Twitter. He was talking about him, and I just, threw a tweet and I say he's different. When you play, sports, whatever it is that you play, and the guys who shouldn't be playing, but they starting because they the coach's son, you know what I'm saying? Or the coach just believes in that player, but he shouldn't be out there, while guys on the bench that should be playing. The superstars, we can't win without those guys. And then the guys who are okay, all right. And then the guys who are just different. They just are different, and it's a special different. And I think that you have that with Rasheed Rice, and he may be receiver one. And I know we was talking about
wow.
I'm just,
Addison.
It's a fluid situation.
It is a fluid situation. And SMU had some receivers that, they producing receivers now. Let's not sleep on those guys. This guy's ability to separate at the top of the route, to make you look silly with so much separation, ability to go up and get the football, use his body, out here playing center. He's got strong hands, and he's about that life. If you want to mix it up, he's about that life. He's got a little everything that you want from the position as a receiver, man. And he's got the height and he's got the production. So might be receiver one. I'm just saying.
Might be receiver one.
Yeah, Rasheed Rice is just. Rasheed Rice, he's a special watch, man. When I watch the tape, I'm like, it is unfair that he's playing against these guys, and that could be a good thing and a bad thing because the knock is the level of competition.
Group
Who
of
is he
fives.
playing against? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Group of five
Yeah,
versus
you
power
get what I'm
fives.
saying? And
Yeah.
because when I saw Cedric Wilson, I thought that guy was going to be the best thing cooking, man. I was like, Cedric Wilson is a baller. And, you know, the competition plays a factor in that. I know Cedric Wilson probably plays better competition, but yeah, that's the thing. I want to see Rasheed Rice matched up against top level competition, the Joey Porters of the world, and just to see how he pans out there because the competition he's playing now is pretty unfair.
Well, he did play against Maryland corner Jakarion Bennett, number 2, and he's supposed to be, you know, he's a guy. People were talking about the matchup, and yeah, he did him. Just gonna put it out there. He got him. Yeah, he got him, and he probably would have did a little bit more, but the quarterback missed him on that. I think it was the first play of the game. He missed him. So, yeah, man, and he Rice reminds me of the type of guy who's gonna rise to the occasion, man. You know what I'm saying? He's cream rises to the top. That's what they say.
Don't matter who's lining up against him, man.
Yeah, man, he gonna get it, man.
All right.
Is he gonna be at the Senior Bowl? Is he over there?
I don't know if he's a senior. I'll check.
Not senior. Okay, just checking on that. Love to see him there.
I would love to see him there too.
All right, Headley. Let's transition to your guys. The 3 guys that you're staking claim to, guys that are standing out for you.
I got there goes the guys right there.
He is a senior, by the way.
So he is a senior, yeah. So we should see him out there. So we got Devin Achane, Texas A&M running back. You know, I probably talk about him every week now, but hold your breath on every touch type of guy. And you know, you got certain players where it's like this guy's a track star playing football, and they don't really pan out. But Devin Achane is a football player that just so happens to be a track star. You know, blazing speed, movements look easy. Foot in the ground, one cut system. If I see him in that could be 2,000 yards. That could be 2,000 yards at the next level. He kills angles. He could be used in the pass game. Got natural hands. They split him out. Does kick return. He's a gunner. There's nothing that Achane can't do. So, you know, before the season, it was all Bijan Robinson. I'm a big fan of Robinson. I'm a big fan of Jahmyr Gibbs. But Achane is right there in the top 3 for me at the running back position.
Oof.
Next guy we have Trenton Simpson. Spoke about him earlier. Just the explosiveness all over the football field, the versatility. I think I seen him playing safety last year, playing linebacker, playing edge. He could do it all, and he comes with bad intentions to the football. To me, he's linebacker 1. And then let's go to what you call him, Drew? DB1? Jay Ward?
Nah, you called him DB1, but I ain't far off.
That was you.
That was me?
You said it. I just seconded it. I seconded it, man.
I think I said nickel 1, not DB1. Nickel 1.
Nickel 1.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, he's nickel 1, man. He's a see ball, get ball type of player. He's not much wasted movements. Like he's there, you know, sure tackler. Seen him all over the field, in the slot, in the box, up high, closes quickly. He'll mix it up, tackle, and it's certain guys that have that rare teleporting capabilities, and he's one of them. Jay Ward, you can line him up anywhere. We'll see what NFL teams do with him, but definitely a first-round talent right here. Nickel from LSU.
All right. Those are Drew and Headley's guys, respectively. Let's move on to our Saturday slate. Handful of games that we're going to be keying on. Want to make sure that our audience also is paying attention, and of course, we'll talk about those prospects. Same time next week, Friday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Let's start with Kentucky at Ole Miss, and just high level guys in terms of the prospects, the matchups that you're looking for. Brief analysis, nothing too in depth, because of course we're going to talk about them in greater detail next week.
Yeah, I mean, Kentucky obviously is Will Levis, the quarterback, big, strong. He's the engine that makes that team go in terms of the offense and defensively. For Kentucky, you're talking about all the linebackers. You're talking about Jacquez Jones. You're talking about DeAndre Square. You're talking about Jordan Wright. And it's going to be interesting to see what this looks like versus Ole Miss. It's Ole Miss. To see what that looks like against them, because they want to run the football, whether it be Jackson Dart, sophomore quarterback, or Zach Evans. Those are kind of the engines that make that offense go for Ole Miss. But it'll be interesting to see what those linebackers do versus Ole Miss in that running game that they want to run over there.
Yeah, I'm looking at Zach Evans. You mentioned him, Drew, from Ole Miss. He's hard to bring down, contorts his way through tackles, breaks arm tackles. His contact balance really stands out. Once he gets that momentum, has plus vision, especially in the open field. Attacks line of scrimmage with acceleration, and he got plenty of speed to run by defenders. Once he gets to that second level, he can sure run by defenders. So I'm interested to see him, like you said, against those Kentucky linebackers.
Staying in the SEC, we have Bama at Arkansas. Start with you, Headley.
Man, yeah, it's like a broken record, man. These running backs really excite me, man. Jahmyr Gibbs, just how they're using him out of the backfield. This man looks like the mirror image of Alvin Kamara right now. Is he a running back? Is he a receiver? He's doing both, and I think he's the engine. You got Bryce Young, QB1, but yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs, man, I'd like to see more of him.
Yeah, I'm interested to see Arkansas's defense, because I was watching the game, and they had said that Arkansas, and I don't know if they're still doing it because I didn't check the stats, but they were leading the country in sacks. And as he says that, they're getting a sack. And this comes from not only the D-line and Eric Gregory, number 50. He was showing up and showing out in that Texas A&M game, who was penetrating and just causing all kind of disruption up front. You got Drew Sanders, linebacker, who coming downhill with bad intentions. I think he's a good blitzer, times it up well, and plays the middle well. And you have a nickel back in Miles Slusher, number 2, who actually came back. Slusher, I mean, he sounded like a player, bro. Slusher, bro. Damn, bro. Like, come on, bro. He came back.
And you got Bumper Pool too.
And Bumper Pool.
And Bumper Pool.
And Bumper Pool. So I mean, damn, bro, they got names to go with, what I'm saying, the defense. So it'll be interesting to see in terms of what that looks like for versus Bama and Bryce Young. I told you I'm looking for him to have a bad game. This might be it. And KJ Jefferson going up against that ridiculous Bama defense. I don't know if we need to go through them names.
No. I mean, considering where we are in time, I don't think it's necessary this week, but I'm sure we'll talk about it next week. By the way, I have 2 second cousins. They're young, but their last name is Slusher, so they're gonna be a problem. They're gonna be a problem once they become Slushers. Yes, sir. All right, moving on to Wake Forest at Headley's Seminoles.
Ooh, the big game right here, man. We don't have time to get into what Miami and Florida is doing, but Florida State football.
Come on,
yeah, y'all back, bro. They said you was back till last week.
Nah, I ain't gonna say we back. But Jordan Travis has really improved upon his game. But prospects to watch over there, you have Micah Pittman, receiver, Johnny Wilson, the big 6'7" guy, Robert Scott, left tackle, also Trayshawn Ward, the running back. And the defense, we'll see if your boy play the edge, Jared Burse. Yeah, it'd be big for him. But 2 guys I really want to point out on the FSU defense, the linebackers, Dennis Briggs Jr. and Kalen DeLoach. They've been all over the football field.
Damn, bro, you just gonna leave out Sam Hartman? I know he don't play for FSU, but
no, I was leaving Wake Forest to you, man.
Oh no,
I had to talk about what State's doing.
Of course, bro. My bad, bro. But Sam Hartman, of course, and receiver, is it A.T. Perry? A.T. Perry.
Yeah.
And I think the other one was Jamal Banks going against FSU, and we'll see if FSU can close it out, because we know what happens when they can't. But it should be a good game, man.
Yeah, don't leave those receivers one-on-one. Yeah,
hopefully Norvell's smart enough to not do that.
Yeah, you got to stay patient. You got to trust your front to defend the run. You know what I'm saying? Might be some light boxes, but Headley mentioned the backers, the guys at the second level making plays. They're going to have to come up big. You know what I mean? Because again, you don't want to necessarily leave those receivers of Wake Forest with Sam Hartman at the controls, you know, in one-on-one situations. That probably won't work out in FSU's favor. So stay patient. Let the athletes up front do their jobs. Another big matchup in the ACC. We have NC State at Clemson. NC State has a lot of talent, and I'm really looking forward to this particular contest. And then, of course, our discussion next week, because I think the focus of that conversation will be on NC State. NC State is ranked in the top 10 for the first time in 20 years, and they are a very veteran-laced team. There's a lot of experience on this team, and they have NFL talent. So I'm looking forward to it. What players are you looking forward to seeing here, Drew?
You got Anthony Belton, left tackle. You got my guy Devin Leary, the quarterback, who is the engine that is this team. Let me see here. Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to versus Clemson. This Clemson defense. I don't know if we need to run down those guys. It's a lot, but this should be interesting, man. Because this is probably because do they play on the same? Are they on the same side of the conference?
I believe so.
Is this for the Atlantic?
Yeah, the Atlantic. Yeah, the Atlantic.
The Atlantic. Oh.
Yeah, a couple more guys from NC State. I wanted to mention the running backs, Jordan Houston and Demi Sumo Carnbay. Houston is the guy that, the runner, he runs between the tackles, but Demi Sumo Carnbay, he might be the better prospect because of what he does in the passing game. He really had a big game against Texas Tech a couple of weeks ago. I think when Houston may have got hurt. And then on the defensive side of the ball, looking at Isaiah Morin, middle linebacker, and Tyler Baker-Williams, the nickelback. Tyler Baker-Williams is usually all over the football field, number 13. Keep an eye out on him.
All right.
And then Clemson, Tyler Davis, Mark Murphy, Brise, Trenton Simpson, DJU. We'll see if he can have another great game after the game he just had.
All right, let's head down to the Big 12. We have Texas Tech at Kansas State, Drew.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting, and a matchup that I'm going to watch is Cooper Beebe, tackle for Kansas State, and obviously you have Keyshawn Vaughn, the running back, but going against is it Tyree Wilson? I want to make sure I don't kill a man's name. That matchup is going to be interesting in terms of edge versus offensive tackle in that game.
Yeah. Also, on Kansas State, he might not be an NFL prospect, but Adrian Martinez had a pretty good game last week. Took off with his legs, and then you have Felix Anudike Uzama. He had a rough one against Anton Harrison. We didn't really get into Anton Harrison. I'll probably bring him up next week, but we'll see what Felix AU could do.
Felix AU. I think it's Anudike. I believe it's Anudike.
But I ain't say it right. I ain't landed.
But I appreciate.
Bro. It was rough, bro. We lost some wheels coming down, bro. You forgot to put the wheels. Down. And, you know what I'm saying?
All right, back to the SEC. LSU at Auburn, and before you guys get to the prospects, I'll take one. I'll take one in this case, and I'll do it in the form of conversation. Content that didn't necessarily make it to the channel, but it will in its own special way. We're gonna break it down. Headley came out with his first 2023 NFL mock draft, 1st of September. Of course, this is the last day of September. BJ Ojulari. And this is what he had to say
about BJ Ojulari before we move on, man.
Okay, you can jump in.
He's one of my favorite prospects. It's just
mine too.
How he comes, the edge. He got the things you can't teach. That anticipation off the jump, how he bends, his dip, his closing ability. Not a lot of people I see have him in the top 10. Maybe because of his size. I'm not sure why, but I think this guy's a pass rusher, the best pass rusher in the class.
Best pass rusher in the class, Headley.
Yeah, he showed it, man. He showed it. You got Will Anderson out there, but what BJ does, man, just the dip, the bend, the closing, it's a lot, man. He took over that game. What game he took over when he won that game? Yeah, that game right there. It's just that's a teach tape in edge rushing class. Also, you got Jay Ward, as I mentioned earlier, for LSU. I think those two guys on the defense really catapults LSU. You got a quarterback, Jaden Daniels. Butte. We'll see. We'll see what Butte does over
We're
there.
still waiting, bro.
See if he
We're
could
still
get on the
waiting.
same page.
Yeah, I don't know if that's gonna happen, bro. I'm just gonna put it out there. I think that's one of those things where it's just quarterbacks is that's not his guy. Who's his guy? I forget.
Malik Neighbors, true sophomore.
Yeah, that's his guy. It's not Butte. For Auburn, you got Kobe Wooden, number 25 edge, and you got Derek Hall, also number 29 edge, was in the 20s out here. Guys to look out for versus because I'll say this, one of the biggest things for me and one of my pet peeves is the game plan to stop LSU is to force their quarterback to throw the football. Because to me, I don't think that his first thought is to get it down the field. I think his first thought is actually to run. And I think that if you cover up those receivers, I think I want to force him to make a decision, right? And I think the guys that can contain him is a Derek Hall and a Kobe Wooden. This is also a team coming off a terrible loss at home to Penn State. You need to get their head out of there, you know what, and get this going. You know what I'm saying? Because now we're in the SEC play. And also Tank Bigsby, who showed me something last week with his ability to catch the ball and make guys miss, put his foot in the ground and go. Because I thought he was a little bit more of a power player, but no, he showed me something. He's got a lot more to his game, and want to see more of that.
Yeah, that's again Auburn's offense, right? Not necessarily harnessing all of the players' skill set there. So yeah, he's kind of getting lost in the conversation a little bit, but I don't think the NFL scouts are going to lose sight of him. I really don't. A couple more games here. We power through. We have Oklahoma at TCU, Drew.
Yeah, I think Headley had brought up a guy we've missed for a couple of weeks. And is it Anton and what's his last name? The tackle
Harrison.
I don't know why I want to say Hamilton. I don't know where I'm getting that from, but Anton Harrison.
English poetry or folklore or something like that.
I think it's
Is that what you're thinking about?
It's a play, bro, but I don't know if he's actually a real person, but we'll go with it.
What?
It's a play. That's all I remember, man. Somebody hit me down in the comment section. Let me know. I'm off. Harrison. He was getting a lot of buzz the last 2 weeks, and he'll probably continue to get the buzz in terms of his position over that offensive tackle. I think this offensive tackle class is going to be, probably up there with the quarterback class in terms of the amount of players that teams are going to be able to pick from. It's going to be interesting to see how that turns out. And then you also have a forgotten guy. Let me grab him real quick. I want to make sure. Oops. Hold up. Give me a second. Drew said no dead air, so I'm gonna keep talking.
Keep talking.
No dead air. Okay.
Talking.
It's a sin.
How's the weather?
We just went through that hurricane, but it's all good.
We came off a hurricane.
You know what I mean? Marvin Mims, I think he's kind of the forgotten guy, but he's out there doing work out there that Oklahoma offense, which he fits very well. So that's a guy I want to watch as well. And also this guy I don't know how old this cat is, bro, but I thought he came out last year. It was maybe an undrafted guy. Eric Gray, running back. I've been scouting this guy for a minute, bro.
I thought he got hurt, if I'm not mistaken.
He got hurt? I've been scouting him for a while, bro.
Yeah.
Okay.
Formerly of the Tennessee Volunteers, transferred
Correct.
over to Oklahoma. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I like Mims and Gray. I like those prospects. On the TCU side, you have Quentin Johnston. This guy was one of the top receivers coming into this season, but for some reason he's not really producing this year. A lot of athleticism, breakaway speed. Just get the ball in his hands, and he could take it to the house. Also, you have on defensive side of the ball, I like Millard Bradford. He really stood out to me in week 1. Safety, he got the ball skills to go up and get it. He comes downhill. He's all over the football field. And they have a couple corners. Noah Daniels was the guy that was being spoke about a lot, but coming in. But it looks like Trevius Hodges Tomlinson is the guy, real sticky corner. And then you got a linebacker, D. Winters. He's undersized. It kind of reminds me of a poor man's N'Kobe Dean because he comes down and bring hats. and you got Dylan Horton, edge rusher from TCU. So a lot of talent on defense for TCU.
Yeah. I think as far as the conversation's concerned regarding 2023 prospects, TCU has quite a bit to offer. There just hasn't been a lot of conversation around them. So we'll be sure to discuss them in depth in next week's second half draft show. And our final preview for the Saturday slate, we go back to the SEC, ton of SEC games to key in on. We've talked about prospects from either of these teams quite a bit. The quarterback certainly in Mississippi State with Will Rogers. And Texas A&M, we can see Helly's guy A-Chain. Helly, who do you like outside of those guys? Outside of those guys, who do you like in this particular contest?
Mississippi State. What's other team? It's Texas A&M.
A&M.
Oh, I like the DBs at Texas A&M. I like the DBs, man. We already talked about Damani, Antonio Johnson. Those guys are fun watches. I know you're not as high on Antonio Johnson, but he's a predator. I think he could attack, put him in a nickel position, and I think he'll be just fine right there.
Let me ask a question. I think I know the answer to it, but I just want to put things in perspective a little bit here before I turn it over to Drew. Jalen Petrie or Antonio Johnson?
Oh, Petrie. Oh,
Okay.
Petrie.
Okay.
That was my guy. Come on.
Okay. But my point is that I think Petrie's a substantially better player than Antonio Johnson. That isn't to knock Antonio Johnson. I think Petrie is a substantially better player. Petrie went in the second round. I think if he tests a little bit different, he was more of a physical freak, perhaps he ends up in the first round.
Exactly.
He's been
It's
back
a
there.
size. It's a size difference.
He's going to be a Pro Bowler this year, and I think he's going to be an All-Pro by his second year. I think he's that good. Antonio
there's
Johnson.
limitations on Johnson when you compare the two.
Yeah, and my scouting report for both those safeties out of A&M are coming out here soon. But there was a lot of hype in terms of the PFF grades and stuff like that. Antonio Johnson was pacing Petrie in some of those categories. But when I watched the film, when I turn it on, I'm just not quite as impressed. And that isn't to say Antonio Johnson isn't a good player. He is a good player. Just don't see him being a fringe first rounder, which was kind of the discussion entering the season. Drew, your thoughts on this particular game, players in this game?
Yeah, I got one. Max Johnson, Brad Johnson's son. I think you had said it last week, or maybe it was off air. We was talking, and you had stated that he's got some athleticism. He's kind of underrated. Because you think about Brad Johnson, you're thinking about traditional drop back quarterback, but Max Johnson can move, bro, and he's a transfer from LSU. And I think I said this last week where he didn't start because the previous quarterback just was there and knew more about the offense, and they needed a spark. They were struggling. Who they lose to? Was it Appalachian State?
Yep.
Yeah. So I think they may have paid to get their ass whooped too, just like Miami. But yeah, Max Johnson. I think I'm not saying this is a guy who we're talking about. Hey, first round, second round quarterback, but maybe this is a guy who sticks around and plays another year. And maybe now we're talking about him as being one of the top quarterbacks in the country because I believe he has the arm. He looks like he's in control of the offense, knows where to go with the football, and he's got some athleticism that I really like, and it's really underrated. He's always making plays with his feet that I don't think defenders know that that he can do. And so I think that's a guy that I'm going to watch come this game. Along with my guy Will Rogers.
It's interesting that you mentioned Max Johnson because what I've noticed about him, to your point, I think you bring up a good point, is that he got the nervous system. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
He got the nervous system, man. Like he's not always going to make the right play. The athleticism sneaks up on guys, but there's he doesn't get too high, he doesn't get too low. You know what I mean? And the moment never seems too big. You know what I mean? When you think he's this kind of pedestrian, he makes a play. He extends a drive. You know what I'm saying? There's a moxie to him. So to your point, it's a guy that could stick around. You know what I mean? Especially if he comes back a year, continues to develop. Who knows at that point? All right. Any last thoughts?
Enjoy college football. Know you got your gamblers out there. Put your 16 team parlay together. See if you can win that $2 million, $3 million. I'm gonna try my luck this weekend. And the boys finally got my money in the account. Took a minute. Most of that was on me, just trying to do things last minute. But I'm gonna make me some bets and do some things and see what happens. I'll let you know if I win that $2 million or $3 million or whatever it is. But yeah, man, can't wait. College football, let's get it, man.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be it's probably the biggest week of the college football season, man. You got 5 ranked teams playing against each other. I'm really keying in on the ACC. You got the Clemson game, the Florida State, Wake Forest, and Clemson, NC State. So we'll see what how the ACC pans out after those 2 games.
We also got Oklahoma State and Baylor as well that we didn't talk about, but that's a matchup.
Why are you mentioning it?
I just want to throw it out. I don't want to be like, how you gonna name all these teams and leave this one out? You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna watch it. We're gonna talk about it. Next
week, on the Big 12. Y'all hating on the Big 12, man.
I mean, the Big 12 got some love, man. You acting like we didn't do nothing to talk about the Big 12.
We talk about all these ranked teams. Listen. We threw LSU and Auburn in there. Now one of them is ranked, bro.
Yeah, but prospects, though, B.
No, I got you. But then one of them was ranked, bro.
It's the second half draft show.
Listen. For those that were feeling like we left them boys out, you know what I'm saying? I got you, bro. Don't worry about it. I got them, bro.
Drew's got you.
Yeah.
Guys, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We will see you next week, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, for the 5th episode of the second half draft show. For Headley, Drew, this is Juice. See you next week.